Ayesha loved old things. She liked the way they felt in her hands. She liked the stories they whispered. So when she saw the antique shop, she had to go in. It was crammed with dusty furniture and forgotten treasures. Ayesha ran her fingers along a chipped vase and a dented gramophone. Then she saw it. It was a mirror propped up against a stack of books. The frame was silver and ornate. It was beautiful. "It's lovely," Ayesha breathed, picking it up. The mirror was heavier than it looked. The glass had a strange, almost liquid quality to it, as if she could fall right through. "I'll take it," she told the shopkeeper. He was a stooped old man with knowing eyes. He looked at her, then the mirror, then back again. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice a gravelly whisper. "It's quite unique." Ayesha just smiled, already captivated. "All right then," the shopkeeper sighed, wrapping it carefully in brown paper. "But be warned, girl, it remembers." His words sent a shiver down her spine. Ayesha dismissed it as superstition. She paid for the mirror and hurried out. That night, Ayesha hung the mirror in her bedroom. She stepped back to admire it. The mirror seemed to gleam in the dim light. "It remembers," the shopkeeper had said. Ayesha scoffed. What a silly thing to say, it was just an old mirror. She went about her evening trying to ignore the nagging feeling that the mirror was watching her. As she got ready for bed, Ayesha noticed it again, that feeling of being watched. She turned to look at the mirror. Her reflection stared back. Everything seemed normal. Ayesha shook her head. "Just your imagination," she muttered to herself. She turned off the light and climbed into bed. The room was dark, except for the faint moonlight that spilled through the window and onto the mirror. Ayesha closed her eyes, willing herself to sleep, but then she heard it. A whisper, her name, Ayesha. She sat up, heart pounding. The whisper came again, this time clearer. "Ayesha." It was coming from the mirror. Ayesha got out of bed slowly. She crept towards the mirror. Her reflection was still there, but now it was different. It was wearing an old-fashioned dress. Her hair was in an elaborate updo, and its eyes were open. "Ayesha," the reflection whispered. Its lips moved perfectly in sync with the voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Ayesha was frozen in place. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. She couldn't tear her gaze away from those eyes, those knowing, ancient eyes. "Who are you?" Ayesha managed to whisper, her voice trembling. The reflection smiled. It was a slow, eerie smile that sent shivers down Ayesha's spine. "I am you," the reflection whispered, "and you are me." Ayesha took a step back. "That's not possible," she breathed. The reflection reached out from the mirror. Its hand, pale and cold, was suddenly inches from Ayesha's. "Come closer," it beckoned. Ayesha felt a cold pull towards the mirror. She tried to resist, but it was no use. She was being dragged slowly and inexorably towards the shimmering surface. Ayesha screamed, but no sound came out. She was pulled through the icy surface of the mirror. The world dissolved around her. A blinding light filled her vision, then silence. She looked around. She was in a room that was just like hers, but different, older, dustier, and in front of her stood the mirror. Her reflection was gone. Ayesha was trapped. She pounded on the glass, but it was no use. It was like hitting a wall of ice. She was a prisoner in her own reflection. Through the mirror, she saw her reflection emerge into her room. It was wearing her clothes now, but its face, it was the face of the girl from the mirror. The reflection smiled, a slow, cruel smile, and turned away from the mirror. Ayesha screamed again. Would anyone ever hear her?